Good morning and welcome to the Forex Daily Update, brought to you by Pepperstone on Wednesday the 27th of June 2018. I'm Darren Sinden and you can follow me throughout the day on Twitter by using @DS_Pepperstone. Right, let's take a look at the overnight changes and price moves to be aware of. First of all, I want to flag the weakness in both the Australian and New Zealand dollars versus their US counterpart. The Aussie down by around 0.29% overnight, but the Kiwi fell by 0.72% against the American currency. Also sliding against the dollar, the Chinese yuan, the Renminbi yuan down 0.34% versus the US dollar. Now, how long is it before the Americans decide that the Chinese easing the yuan, which is what's happening here, is actually a tool in their efforts to offset US trade embargoes and in fact trade wars become a currency war? That's not happening yet, but that's certainly something that we should keep an eye out and a lookout for over the coming weeks and days. Dollar index for its part broadly unchanged, trading at 94.72, just up by around 0.06% overnight and shortly before we recorded the video. Right, what's on the calendar then? Events that may move the markets today. First of all, just to bring to your attention that we will have the ECB non-monetary policy meeting today, and that will also entail the release of their regular economic bulletin and update. That comes out at 8 o'clock. Also at 8 o'clock GMT, we will have the Swiss ZEW survey expectations for June. And at 8:30, the first of the day's central bank speeches from the Bank of England's Governor Mark Carney, as the Bank of England releases its own financial stability report. We jump forward then to 12:30 and cross the Atlantic for durable goods orders for May out of the US. That's both ex and with transportation. At 1300, the Swiss National Bank will produce its own quarterly bulletin. The SNB, effectively the world's largest hedge fund these days, and this report always makes interesting reading when one gets a chance to look at their investments and the profitability therein. 1400 sees the release of pending home sales in the US, and that's for the month of May. And then at 1500, another central bank speech, this time from the Fed's Quarles. 1615, and it's the turn of the Federal Reserve Bank of Boston President Rosengreen to speak. And then at 1900, Bank of Canada's Governor Poloz will give a speech. And of course, Canada thought to perhaps want to raise rates again in July, although recent data has been, shall we say, more dovish on interest rates. 2100 then, the final burst of central bank action today, and that is the Reserve Bank of New Zealand's interest rate decision and rate statement. And in light of some of the data that we'll look at momentarily in the video, one wonders if the bank will sit pat again and perhaps talk a dovish tone itself. If you're still in the market at 23.50, you'll see retail trade sales out of Japan for the month of May. Right then, breaking news and comment that's caught my eye overnight. And first of all, the Kiwi has fallen to a 6-month low versus the US dollar on weak New Zealand business confidence data that suggest that there is slower growth ahead in the country, and you can see we've seen the effect that data has had. Meanwhile, Argentina has left interest rates unchanged at 40%. That's not a surprise, but I've just put this item in there just to remind people how perilous the situation is in certain emerging market countries. And remember that Argentina has already been bailed out, or promised to bail out, I should say, by the IMF. Meanwhile, China's industrial profits rose sharply again year on year in the 5 months to the end of May, and 31 out of 41 sectors surveyed made profits in this period. Now, we have to take this data with a pinch of salt because there are many state-owned industries in this survey. Nonetheless, it does suggest that business is booming in China, just as trade wars and trade barriers are potentially going up. Speaking of trade disputes, the FT says that they cast doubt over the long-term viability of US liquid natural gas exports to Asia. And that's probably one of the unintended consequences of President Trump's banging of the trade drum. So he's supposedly talking a more dovish tone himself on China investment tariffs, but let's see how that pans out over the coming days. Right, food for thought and something to take away with you into the trading day and beyond. Well, why not think about this? An index that tracks institutional flows into the US 30 index has sharply diverged from the equity benchmark. This suggests that large US managers and pension funds have been big sellers of US equities, and that share buybacks and retail flows have been supporting the US 30 index and presumably other US benchmarks too. So the question we must ask on that basis is, have we seen the top of the market for US equities? And you can see in the chart here, retail and buyback index and the Dow at the top of the chart, and here the smart money index at the bottom of the chart, and this index is the one that tracks pension fund and institutional flows into the US 30 index. Right, please take a moment to read the risk warning. Trading CFDs and foreign exchange on margin can be a risky business. If you're uncertain about the risks involved or the suitability of leverage products for you, then please do contact your Pepperstone account representative. Thank you for your time.